YSL RICO trial of rapper Young Thug is on pause indefinitely as Judge Raul Glanville has been removed from the case. Defense lawyers for Young Thug and for another defendant joined with his case argued that the judge should no longer be presiding over the case because of an ex parte meeting. You recall this, we told you about this, that he had with prosecutors and with the prosecution witness. It did not include the defense attorneys. Young Thug's attorney, Brian Steele, was then held in contempt. You'll remember that as well, I'm sure, when he questioned the judge about it and wouldn't reveal how he learned about that private ex parte meeting. So now Brian Steele still continues serving his sentence. I mean, he's serving jail time on weekends with his client, Young Thug. What a legal hero he is, but that's beside the point.
Talk about what a gangster lawyer, right? Young Thug's lawyer does time because he won't roll and reveal his source for the judge's unlawful ex-parte communication with the other side. I mean, talk about how disgusting that is, right? So we covered this in my first episode of Judges Gone Wild. And so now it just looks like Judges Gone Wild is like one of my most popular series. So just really quick, before I kick this off, I want to say hi to everyone. Thanks, Kurt Bronson, for showing up as usual. And Mama Lion, I really appreciate you stopping by again, supporting the channel. Let's OTVO, thanks for supporting the channel. Really love it. And Ghost Man, totally happy you're here. Thank you so much for showing up. Age Go, good seeing you. Race Gas is in the hot tub, guys, so he's not going to be chatting with us too much, but I love all my Texans showing up for the show. I've got a lot of really fun stuff that I'm going to share with you guys today. But real quick, I'm just going to go ahead and kick it off to another edition of Ask Michael Eline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news, case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. That's right. We never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel or your lives with some kind of new injection or new thing that they say is going to protect you. And they always do it under the guise of the state knows what's best for you. A lot of you people are probably too young to remember the famous comment by Ronald Reagan, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." Those were like, those were the words that if you heard, you would run, because you would know that calamity and chaos is sure to follow. And we're seeing that happen, especially in the single party states like California and, you know, like New York City, where you just have one party. So absolute corruption has the opportunity to blossom like octopus tentacles. So I really appreciate you guys all showing up today and joining me. And we're going to go into a little bit. Hey, what's up? What's going on? Plead the Fifth. Good seeing you, man. Plead the Fifth said listening, but got to head out to an appointment. Well, the cool thing about what I do is I can't do lives all the time. As you guys know, I'm a lawyer and I get pretty busy. But I try to do them at least a couple times or more a week. And I try to do stuff that you can listen to when you're driving your car, because that's what I do. Like when I'm out riding my car or my truck, I'm listening to like, a Jocko Willink podcast, or, one of BZ Watchdog's podcasts where he talks about his public records requests. I like to listen to educational stuff. Cop watch videos are fun. That's one of the reasons why I like Chili DeCastro's site, Delete Laws, because not only does he have entertaining cop watches, but his narrations are superb. Give me a bunch of ones for Chili DeCastro's ability to narrate. I mean, the guy is just a classic storyteller, super talented, gifted guy. Man, I would love to have his ability to move an audience. The guy is really amazing. So give me a bunch of ones for Chili, guys. Let me hear it. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Mama Lion. Thanks, Chevy. And so, as you guys know, I am, a lot of people call me the humble lawyer, but I'm not always humble. I mean, if somebody rubs me the wrong way, I will go to war. But I always believe that as a lawyer, I hold a position of public trust. And I always want to give you the straight scoop to the best of my abilities and be honest, because I know you guys already hate lawyers so much. And that my love is, well, besides military stuff, is natural law and helping people, because a lot of people don't understand, my background. I came up, no law degree, no undergrad, was a small business owner, sold my business, lived off what I could, slept on park benches, and became a lawyer on the law study program. So I had to always be nice to people. And that was how I was able to find lawyers to work for. And I worked for free because it wasn't free, because they were giving me millions of dollars of information and mentoring that I could have never gotten from a paid position. So keep that in mind, all you people who have dreams. Don't ever expect somebody who is a winner or a leader to pay you to teach you how to be a good person and how to be successful. You should be paying them. And that's another problem that I have with the nanny state of California and all this Marxist thinking that the public schools are bestowing on our children, is that you'll never learn anything if you just put your hand out and think that everything should be handed to you on a silver platter. So give me a bunch of ones if you believe in a merit-based system. Now, what we're going to do is we just got an opportunity to look a little bit at the Young Thug video, which was, I'll just give you the breakdown really quick for the people on my channel who didn't get an opportunity to see what happened. So that judge apparently is like a 3-star general, I think, like a judge advocate general in the Army. And he just threw his weight around, and he got pissed off that the Young Thug lawyer found out about this secret ex-party meeting. And judges aren't supposed to have ex-party. That means outside the presence of the other side. See, and it comes from the Bible under Matthew. You have a right to face your accusers. That was passed on into English common law and then into American common law. And basically all that really means is, a judge isn't supposed to meet with the other side of your case unless your lawyer or you can be there also. That's all that means. No ex-party communications. Now, the judge was trying to finagle that he had the right to do that, and he found the lawyer in contempt for refusing to waive his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, as well as his attorney-client privileges and confidentiality rules that he's bound to abide by. So that lawyer just became a hero overnight to millions of people, especially patriots like me. And I'll tell you something, if he had rolled on his client or on the people who gave him that information, not only would he, if he ever did get arrested, end up, getting beat up or worse in jail, but he also could be disbarred. So that was one of the things I wanted to point out to all you guys, is that judge was basically subjecting that lawyer's law license to forfeiture. So that's pretty crazy, right? So really quick, I found this really cool compilation of like a Judges Gone Wild clip. And so I like doing lawyer reaction videos. And after watching Chili after he got out, I'm kind of trying to copy a little bit about his format, the way he does it, because I think it's more effective, because I like teaching. So this should hopefully teach you guys a lot. Let's keep watching.
From the judge who tampered with evidence to save her brother's job, to the one who imprisoned kids as young as 8. These judges believed they were untouchable. Sadly, they're each about to get a taste of their own medicine on the other side of the bench. In the case of former Cleveland judge Lance Manson, he was in court for the most heinous of crimes, cold-blooded murder. Take a seat at the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court, where this case unfolds. In a rather ironic twist of fate, Lance Timothy Mason served as a judge of the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court, representing the 25th District from 2007 to 2008. From 2002 to 2006, he was a member of the Ohio House of Representatives, serving as Assistant Minority Whip during his final year. In 2017, he worked as an official for the city of Cleveland under Mayor Frank G. Jackson. One would think someone like this, with his vast knowledge of the law, would have behaved differently. Still, on November 17, 2018, Mason brutally stabbed his ex-wife Aisha Fraser to death in front of their 2 children.
I didn't wait for her to drop off a 9-year-old child to go to a lesson. Once they rang the doorbell, he appeared. He began to punch and stab her immediately.
Like that wasn't bad enough, he took his ex-wife's SUV and fled the scene, striking a police cruiser and injuring the police officer inside before he was eventually arrested. Before the murder, Mason and Aisha had a rather rough marriage. One time in August 2014, he was arrested.
And so this is something that you find is very common with public officials, public servants, is some people just aren't cut out to be in leadership positions. So Thomas Aquinas said it best. If you're going to be in a leadership position, you have to know the law and mean to keep it well. And so people who grew up poor or who grew up in violent households, when they all of a sudden find themselves in elected office, or like they win the lottery, for example, it usually clicks a trigger in their brain because they're already narcissists, you understand? And so now they have power. And so narcissists always are achieving bigger and more power. And that's kind of what you see with the whole Epstein Island thing, right? Those billionaires, they got sick of, getting it on with their wives and started, wanting to get it on with little kids. Then they ended up at Epstein Island. And then the FBI, of course, lost all of the tapes because, of course, a lot of the FBI heads were there with the little kids in Epstein. And so they lost. Well, you kind of get where I'm coming from, right? And now they're trying to lower all the ages of consent. So now retroactively, all those guys that were banging all those little kids at that island won't, go to jail. And if you disagree, you're a racist, bigot, and a homophobe, right? That's the media narrative. So just keep that in mind. So people who get into power, they develop their own parallel system outside of ours. And they're now in a position where their friends in the Red Shoe Club, right, can cover for them. So it's a uniparty system. And so you'll see, especially in California, I mean, it's just stuff those political officials do. They violate the law every day and nothing ever happens to them, because how could it? I mean, how could you get recalled when the Secretary of State is a member of your party? I mean, you think she's going to let you get recalled and you're the one signing her check? Come on. Single party state, no oversight. So you'll see that that's usually what happens with the great Leviathan. And John Locke warned us about this. Once power gets concentrated into the hands of a few, that is where the republic ends and democracy begins, where mob rules. And so a bunch of billionaires can pay off a bunch of politicians to send you a living wage paycheck every month, and you'll just vote for them because you get a free check. So, and if you disagree, of course, you're a racist, bigot, and a homophobe. That's the narrative. So let's watch and see what these public officials do once they get some power. Check this out.
And charged with beating his wife while he was driving and in the presence of their children.
I hope he sits there in a prison cell for the rest of his life, every minute of every day, thinking about what he has done to destroy his family.
According to relatives, Mason was obsessed with controlling the lives of his family, to the extent his home was loaded with weapons of all sorts, including semi-automatic rifles, smoke grenades, a sword, handguns, and rounds of ammunition.
Well, I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, that's just a normal person. You should always be armed, especially when you know that if your government wants to take away your firearms, it's all the more reason to buy that many more. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree.
Munition. Following the murder of Aisha, Mason was slammed with multiple charges, including murder and felonious assault, which he pled guilty to.
While I respect your decision to spare them the trauma of a trial, it was too little and way too late.
35 years before eligibility for parole for Mason, who is now 52.
On September 12, 2019, Lance Mason was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 35 years.
That's wild.
Just like Lance Manson, Tracy Hunter was another judge who started well but went off the rails. However, what makes her case
Yeah, now this one's like another nut job. It reminds me of like Fannie Willis and all these Soros prosecutors that they just are going after the power and the money and the social media and to prove that they have power. They're not really doing this to try and help people. It's all about the trappings of power. And to me, it's just really disgusting. And now watch what this moron does. This is unbelievable.
Particularly interesting is her reaction to getting her deserved karma in the courtroom. Let's head to Hamilton
That's a
County
judge.
Courthouse in Ohio, where explore the details of Tracy Hunter's case, especially the controversies surrounding her decisions as a judge. On May 25th, 2012, Tracy Hunter was officially sworn in as judge in Hamilton County's juvenile court, the first woman and African-American to take up the position. However, in late 2013,
And now, before we get too far into this, just so you know, I mean, these juvenile courts are known, at least in my field of government accountability operations, as being in bed, not all of them, but highly likely or have the appearance of impropriety, dealing with these foster homes and child protective services in the private prison industrial complex, we know that those two Philadelphia judges falsely imprisoned at least 5,000 or 4,000 teenagers into these private prisons, and they were getting kickbacks. And we know that Child Protective Services employees get kickbacks from these foster homes, and a lot of foster parents have been accused of child trafficking, especially in California, and child molestation in particular in California, California. And of course, now we have the Safety Act in California, where public school teachers are supposed to keep secret from the parents whether or not they have your son wearing a dress at school, or they're calling your son or daughter they, them, their pronouns, or secretly counseling them to get on puberty blockers and change their gender identity secretly away from parents, just like Harvey Milk and every groomer in the world ever wanted. It was a child groomer's dream come true. What's just happened with the Safety Act in California. And of course, who enforces these laws? Judges. And so let's look at what's going on with this judge to get an idea of what you might have to expect.
She found herself at the center of several scandals, including backdating court documents to assisting her brother in keeping his job. On January 10, 2014, a Hamilton County grand jury indicted Hunter on 2 counts of tampering with evidence, 2 counts of forgery, 2 counts of having an unlawful interest in a public contract, 2 counts of theft while in office, and 1 count of misusing a credit card issued by the court. The unlawful interest charge involved her brother Stephen, then employed by the Hamilton County Juvenile Court as a corrections officer at the court's youth center. Stephen was accused of hitting a person.
And we see this happen a lot at the U.S. Post Office, by the way. I mean, they're famous for nepotism. A lot of people believe that the U.S. Post Office is the third branch of the Democrat Party, that they're the ones who win the elections ever since we've had vote by mail. Have you ever met a postal worker who's not a Democrat? Let's start with that question and then work our way backwards. I don't know what the answer is. I'm just hearing these complaints by people who say we don't even need a post office. It loses billions every year, and the taxpayers are forced to subsidize it to basically create what they say are Democrat Party jobs that just fix elections. And I don't know if that's true. What do you guys think? Give me some comments. Does anyone in my audience think that the U.S. postal workers help stuff ballot boxes and rig elections on behalf of the Democrat Party? Because I'm getting a ton of emails about that. Somebody sent me like a couple hours of videos where these ladies are walking up to the drop boxes and putting like 50 or 60 envelopes. And it says right out there that only 1 envelope can be dropped or it's a felony, right? Right on the mailbox. And they're just loading them in there and it's being filmed and nothing's happening. And a lot of people think that's the post office that's behind all that stuff. So I don't know. Now, so Jeff says that I would not know, but the postal workers are better police officers than the ones that carry guns. You got that right. They sure do a good job getting you auditors out of the post office, don't they? Now, so anyways, you'll see a constant theme with these, postal workers and government employees, especially in these small towns like Ironton, Ohio, right? Where they have like the secretaries, like your uncle, or, chief of police is your brother, the judge is your dad, and you're a crackhead, like, Hunter Biden or whatever. And you just go and break the laws. Nothing ever happens to you. But then this other kid who comes from a poor family, maybe he doesn't vote for the same party or doesn't support one of your family members for political office. They're the ones who are always getting arrested and beat up, that kind of stuff. And, we're hearing more and more stories about that. So now let's just so you guys have a little bit of a foundation. This is what happens. So people start voting for people like this because, the public schools don't teach you civics. They don't teach civility. They don't teach you the constitutional republic. Values aren't taught anymore. They try to sexualize kindergartners, and they don't really want to teach you right from wrong because that would be racist, right? To teach punctuality or showing up on time. I guess that's now racist. Or merit, I guess, is deemed racist by the California School Board last time I heard. So make sure to show up late so you can prove that you're an anti-racist. Here, let's go and watch what some more of these people have to say.
County Common Pleas Court, where this case unfolds. In a rather ironic twist of fate, Lance Timothy Mason served as a judge of the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court, representing the
Stacey.
25th District from 2007
Culture
to
is racist.
2008. From 2002 to 2006, he was a member of the Ohio House of Representatives, serving as Assistant Minority Whip during his final
Ohio
year.
again.
2017, he worked as an official for the city of Cleveland under Mayor Frank G. Jackson. One would think someone like this, with his vast knowledge of the law, would have behaved differently. Still, on November 17, 2018, Mason brutally stabbed his ex-wife Aisha Fraser to death in front of their 2 children.
I didn't wait for her to.
But we already saw all that, so it looks like we need to get this bad chicken moving. Somehow or another, we lost. There we go. This is what I want you guys to watch. So we saw
One of the worst judicial scandals in U.S. history, Ciavarella was charged with honest services, fraud, wire fraud, and tax evasion.
Honestly expected that I was going to get lectured and get probation at the worst. And it was my first time ever in front of a judge. He didn't let me talk. I was literally in front of him for only like 4 minutes. He barely even looked at me. All I remember is my mom grabbed onto my hand and hugged me, and then they put my hands behind my back, handcuffed me, and took me right away.
He ordered children as young as 8 to detention, many of them first-time offenders who were arrested for petty theft, jaywalking, truancy, smoking on school grounds, and other minor issues. The judge often ordered youths he had found delinquent to be immediately shackled, handcuffed, and taken away without giving them a chance to put up a defense or even say goodbye to their families.
I was very surprised when I was being let out of the room in shackles.
Surprisingly, Ciavarella denies these allegations till today.
Never took a dime to send a kid anywhere. If that was the case, that would have been in this trial.
Before the case and charges against him were officially published, Ciavarella resigned on January 23, 2009.
I received a copy of a letter dated January 23rd that Judge Mark Ciavarella has sent to Governor Rendell, resigning as President Judge of Luzerne County.
On September 9, 2009, a federal grand jury in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, returned a 48-count indictment against Ciavarella and Conahan, which included racketeering, fraud, money laundering, extortion, bribery, and federal tax violations. On February 18, 2000.
So I hope you guys are starting to track what I've been trying to tell you, right? That's 2 judges. That's the 2 that got caught. We don't know how many more there are, but we know that when you have a single party system, you have corruption. And we know that our law schools don't even teach you about natural law. They don't even understand that the Bill of Rights is based upon our rights coming from a creator. In fact, they'll laugh at you and tell you that you're crazy if you say something like that. That's how bad it's gotten with academia, where they've completely turned their backs on our foundation as a moral and just society, based upon the laws of morality as we knew them to be at that time. And now anything that you say or do that the deep state or the administrative state doesn't like, they immediately will call you a racist, bigot, and a homophobe. That is their party line. And so that's called an ad hominem. And that is very common with people who have no argument. They have no basis to be able to argue a moral point of view. So they'll try to attack you personally. And so another reason why I teach you to create parallel systems is because nobody deserves to be attacked and put down just because they're a moral and just people like our founding fathers wanted them to be. And the opposite of a moral and just society is what you're finding in these single party states like New York, Chicago, in California, and you'll end up with this scumbag.
2011, a jury in federal court found Ciavarella guilty of racketeering. On August 11, 2011, Kosick sentenced Ciavarella to 28 years in federal prison. While not much was shown of the court proceedings, the mother of one of Ciavarella's victims openly confronted him outside the courtroom in front of the cameras.
You remember me? Do you remember me? Do you remember my son? An all-star wrestler? He's gone. He's gone to some of the heart.
All-star wrestler.
You ruined my fucking life.
Ciavarella, on the other hand, defended himself from this confrontation as he walked away from the courtroom after sentencing.
Never took a dime to send a kid anywhere. If that was the case, that would have been in this trial. You don't think the government would have put me on trial for that if that was the case? Never happened. Never.
What do you guys think?
This case was about extortion and kickbacks. That's what this case was about, not about kids for cash. Because if it was, they'd have had that on trial.
With good behavior, he could be released in fewer than 24 years.
So you heard what that dickhead said, right? He said, this case is really about extortion and kickbacks, not about cash for kids. And that's a typical mealy-mouthed, legalistic, lawyerly scumbag response. And the reason why the vast majority of people in this country hate lawyers. Because basically the allegations of kickbacks, right, accepting bribes, well, what was that for? It was to send juveniles to prison. So, and he got a kickback for that, a bribe. You get me? But I mean, listen to this guy. Just like the head of the Secret Service the other day. I mean, give me a break. If that was James Mattis, he would have immediately resigned. Instead, she made up these stupid excuses like the roof was too slow. Give me a break. Roof was too slow. My God. Let's listen to what this guy has to say.
When he would be 85. His projected release date is June 18th, 2034. On January 9th, 2018, Chiavarella's convictions for racketeering, conspiracy to commit racketeering, and conspiracy to commit money laundering were thrown out after his legal team appealed. On October 1st, 2019, Chiavarella was disbarred on consent from the practice of law by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and on January 24th.
So what that means by disbarred on consent is that he resigned before they could fire him, basically. And that sometimes leaves you the option to try to get your bar card back. And who knows, in Pennsylvania, if they allowed this guy into the bench, that I'm sure the state bar is just as bad. Let's keep watching.
2020, prosecutors formally notified the court that they would not seek to retry Chiavarella on these 3 counts.
Right. And why would they, guys? Why would the government want to go after a fellow government official when they can lead someone to all the dead bodies? You mean, do you really think the charges getting thrown out against Trump were because of some legal issue? You don't think it's because he knows about a lot of dead bodies from when he was the president, like CIA files and FBI files and photographs of all these congressmen and senators sleeping with little kids? You think he doesn't have that? You think that this is like real? Come on. Think about it, guys. Think about Operation Mockingbird. Think about the original director, Hoover, the FBI guy, right? The way he stayed into power was by blackmailing all of our presidents and political officials with film of them getting it on with like Marilyn Monroe or little boys, for example, and then holding those politicians hostage. And CIA does it in other countries. You think they're not doing it here right now? We know that on March 4th, the FBI was caught again, like for the millionth time, illegally spying on the American people. The government released their report that the FBI has been in partnership illegally with a private company so they can obviate and circumvent a Fourth Amendment warrant requirement. They're data mining your bank records. So if you purchase something at Cabela's, Dick's Sporting Goods, or if you purchased even a Bible, right, or any kind of firearm, you're automatically placed on the list of potential domestic violent extremists. One of the ways that you'll know that you're on that list, by the way, for you people who travel, if you go to an airport and you have your kids with you, what they'll usually do is they'll schedule your kid or another person that's on your seats, on your seating arrangement, your wife, kids, for secondary. And there's numbers that they'll put on your ticket. A friend of mine is an FBI whistleblower. I'm going to do a show about it with him. I'm just trying to get him to come out of his closet, but we're going to talk about the illegally targeting of patriotic Americans by these like Obama style Marxists that have control over our political administrative agencies like the post office, the FBI, and the CIA. Like the lifers that are working there coming out as whistleblowers left and right, and they're being forced out because they don't agree with the whole rainbow flag thing and the they, them. So like the good quality guys that like the guys that have been in for 20, 30 years, they're all trying to get out. They don't want to be involved in that because it's they say that it's a cancel culture now within the FBI. So the good quality people, the merit-based appointments are leaving, and the academics with the orange hair that just graduated from like Harvard, they're coming in and they're putting them in supervisory roles, and these guys can't even type. So this is the end result. Keep watching. This is what you get.
Like other judges on this list, that of former 144th District Judge Angus McGinty was no different. In court for accepting bribes in exchange for favorable rulings, McGinty was about to get brutal karma in the court. Take a seat at the Bexar County Courthouse where the ex-judge is about to be sentenced. According to court documents and statements from prosecutor Susan Reeds, from January 2013 through September 2013, Bexar County Judge Angus McGinty solicited and accepted bribes from attorney Alberto Acevedo in exchange for favorable judicial rulings that benefited Acevedo and his clients. These bribes ranged from cash and car repairs to arranging the sale of McGinty's vehicle and even registering a vehicle purchased by McGinty. In exchange,
right, and we even did a show I did, I don't know, about a month ago, where I showed you how these judges were getting like these special customized license plates because, you know, they thought, well, if I get these plates, then the cops won't pull me over, right? And then this one judge got all pissed off because the cop pulled him over with the judge plates and raised hell. But that's the problem. Look, guys, when I was growing up, and especially in my dad's generation, people became public servants because they wanted to serve. They didn't go into office like AOC with 20 grand in the bank and then end up with 20 million in the bank a year later, right? These people, the people who went to college, typically, and now they just go because they're getting brainwashed into being good leftists, but before they would go because they wanted to be like an administrator or an accountant or a teacher or a lawyer or a doctor. And now they go to get a degree in African-American studies, underwater basket weaving. I mean, stuff that you could never get a job in the real world unless it was at an academic institution. And so basically, most of these degrees now are being basically, they're academic degrees for academia, because in the real world, nobody would hire these people. And we've had people coming out of law schools to our firm. They can't type. They don't know how to do legal pleading, but they're real big on bragging about what law school they went to, even though they don't know anything. And that's why I'm a proponent of the law study program, where you study under judges and lawyers and you mentor under honest, loyal, good people. And you learn the law that way, as opposed to a law professor, because you know what they say, those who can do and those who can't teach. And at the end of the day, if you get the wrong teacher or the wrong mentor, this is what happens.
McGinty provided the favorable judicial rulings requested by Acevedo, which included lenient sentences and less restrictive conditions of release for Acevedo's clients. In one case, McGinty changed the sentence of a repeat DWI offender from prison to probation after Acevedo paid a mechanic secretly working with the FBI for work on the judge's cars.
Yeah.
According to the indictments against McGinty and Acevedo, the judge received gifts, payments, and other things. On March 17, 2014, Acevedo pled guilty to a felony information charging him with bribery involving a program receiving federal funds. In entering his guilty plea, Acevedo testified against McGinty, which the judge initially denied.
I do my job professionally and without malice towards anyone.
I do my job professionally and without malice. Hey, did you guys ever see that movie Heat? Remember the criminal when they met in the restaurant? That's kind of what this guy reminds me of. Yeah, I do my job. I'm the best criminal there is, and I do it so well, and I'm so proud of myself for being such a good criminal. But again, I just want to tell you guys, the reason why the prosecutors and everybody goes so easy on all these people is because they know where all the bodies are buried. And that's why guys like Epstein end up, you know, offing themselves in jail. And of course, if any of you guys believe that he actually offed himself, I've got a bridge I want to sell you. Let's keep on watching.
Originally charged with conspiracy to commit federal programs bribery, extortion under color of official right, and honest services wire fraud, McGinty's indictment was later updated to include an extortion under color of official right charge. McGinty resigned from the bench and eventually pled guilty on April 13, 2015 to an honest services wire fraud charge and admitted depriving the state of Texas and citizens of Bexar County of his honest services by soliciting and accepting bribes intended.
And you got to love Texas too, because they're so old school, depriving a man of his honest services. I mean, give me a bunch of ones for Texas, guys. If I had it to do all over again, that's where I'd be right now. But, you know, you only have one life. And now it's so damned expensive to live in Texas. It's like living in California. And so many of the morons from California who destroyed California have moved to Texas. I just don't know where you can go to raise children anymore. I mean, this young generation is just so completely depraved. It's almost like if you've ever read the stories about Sodom and Gomorrah or Babylon and you walk on a college campus, it's like, wow, You couldn't have been more closer than that. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that, by the way. So let's go ahead and listen to what they have to say about these judges gone wild. Here we go.
Tended to influence his judicial decisions. The former Texas State District Court judge in Bexar County, Texas, was sentenced to 2 years of incarceration.
2 years. What a joke.
If you thought the case of Angus McGinty was quite
Now, guys, just really fast. But by the way, I want to thank Age Go and Let's OTVO for the cool comments. What's the matter? You says it's big in Texas. That's right. No Game says it's demonic. And that's exactly right, guys. So the biggest problem that I have with people calling people like me conspiracy theorists is as soon as the conspiracies stop coming true, then maybe I will stop believing in these conspiracies. But so far, we see, they're erecting statues of Satan and Lucifer and Baphomet in front of all of our buildings. We see that they support, the killing of unborn children, just like Baphomet, living sacrifices to their demons. We hear stories about them taking the adrenochrome, and we see that their allies on Wikipedia will immediately bury those stories and say it's a conspiracy theory. And so when you see that enough, you start thinking to yourself, if you're a critical thinker, well, if it's not true, then why are they going out of their way so much to try and hide it and characterize anyone who says it as a crazy person? Because what's the point? I mean, people will eventually just not pay attention if it's not true, right? Well, the problem is that they've infiltrated our highest levels of political office. And if you can get, blood on the shoes of one of these judges or on their hands, on their red shoes, right? And get them dirty or get them on tape having sex with a little kid, you own that politician, you own that judge. And that's exactly something that the CIA or the Mossad would love to do. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. And then let's get back into the video. Here we go.
revealing. Wait till we get into the case of Teresa Brennan, who stood accused of multiple charges, even going as far as having an affair with an officer and using her power to influence cases. Let's head to Livingston County Circuit Court, where Brennan's sentence hearing takes place. The case of former Livingston County Judge Teresa Brennan was heavy with controversies, from corruption, an alleged affair, mistreatment of the public, and a heavily influenced murder trial. It all started in 2017, when Brennan's ex-husband's divorce attorney contacted the Michigan Judicial Tenure Commission following Brennan's divorce. She was accused of having a relationship with a Michigan State Police sergeant, which in turn affected the ruling of a double homicide.
Hey, does anybody else have anything to say about judges sleeping around or marrying cops? It's pretty common. And I'll tell you something, it's common for them to marry like the chief of police. So there's a whole racket within the administrative industrial complex. And it never used to be that way. And that's why I keep telling you guys, and I'm going to throw it at you again, we should be electing people and politicians in particular who delete laws instead of passing laws. Politicians who want to pass laws and run on that record are the exact politicians you do not want. We have a society right now that is so depraved and corrupt, and the laws are basically only enforced against the political enemies of the other party. And we're seeing that as, like, for example, if you believe in the Second Amendment, well, that makes you a Republican. So if you defend against a robber or a burglar and shoot them when they break into your house, you'll have a Soros prosecutor, regardless of the evidence, charge you with murder. They won't even comprehend or pay any attention to the self-defense aspect of your case. At least that's what a lot of defense attorneys are telling me right now in California. I stopped doing murder cases and felony cases a long time ago. And I'm telling you guys, I'm hearing it. And these are from very, very credible lawyers that the Newsom, Soros prosecutors, they are doing anything they can to prevent people from defending themselves with a firearm. And if you do, you are going to jail and you will lose your home. You will lose everything for relying on your right to defend your family, according to these lawyers. And so, again, I plead with you Californians, the ones who still haven't left. If you have children, if you love them, you will flee California. You will never look back. Now, let's go back and take a look at these evil judges, and you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about.
homicide case. At the time of their affair, Furlong was handling the case of Jerome Kowalski, charged with killing his brother and sister-in-law, Robert and Brenda Kowalski. Brennan was the judge overseeing the trial. The Tenure Commission launched an investigation, ultimately deciding Brennan committed gross misconduct. She was also charged with perjury, tampering with evidence, and misconduct in office. The perjury charge carried a potential sentence of up to 15 years in prison. Brennan, however, took a plea deal that placed her sentence at less than a year in prison.
The only reason she pled is because
less than a year in prison. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. They know where the bodies are buried, guys. Once you get into government, it's very rare to see any of these guys really actually do much time. And I think I'm wanting you guys to wake up. You better start thinking.
the evidence was overwhelming.
At her sentencing, Brennan tearfully expressed remorse at her conduct, but this did little to stop the scandal and corruption that now trailed her name.
My family and friends have suffered because of my actions. I hate that I went through this.
Crocodile tears.
I've been publicly shamed, I'm humiliated, and I am embarrassed.
Eventually, Brennan was
But I got
sentenced to
caught.
6 months in jail,
6
along with
months?
200 hours of community service and 18 months of probation.
6 months in county jail, followed by 18 months probation.
So in one of these cases, I'm still trying to find the real. They actually gave this judge, this corrupt judge, community service for their time on the bench while they were doing illegal jailings and stuff. They counted that towards community service. What a joke.
Teresa Brennan might have been morally corrupt, but Timothy Maher, a disability judge at a downtown Miami Social Security Administration office, took things a notch higher. From appearing in court on aggravated assault charges to a deadly hostage situation, the case of Timothy Maher was a glaring display of corruption. Timothy Maher, who was a federal judge, was under arrest in August 2018 after being involved in an alleged domestic dispute in Miami-Dade County. The 51-year-old was accused of 2 counts of aggravated assault with a firearm, child abuse without great bodily harm, and resisting an officer without violence. He was arrested after his ex-girlfriend reported him to the authorities. The ex-girlfriend, who is also the mother of Maher's son, reported that when she was picking up their son at the judge's home, Maher came outside with the child and a holstered pistol on his right hip. He allegedly told her, "I'm going to show you what pain is about." Maher, in his defense, claimed,
Well, first of all, I don't see anything wrong with, everywhere I go, pretty much I have a holstered pistol. And I don't see what that's all about. And we know that, she's got an axe to grind with the guy. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that one, but let's keep watching.
she had made up the allegations as they were false and fictitious.
The accusations that were made against me are entirely false and fictitious. The mother of my child has called the police to my house on not less than 5 occasions prior to last night.
Because he had no criminal history, the court ordered that Maher stay away from his ex-girlfriend and their son. His bond was set at $13,000 and he was released from the TGK Correctional Center. Unfortunately, this decision would prove to be a deadly mistake. Just a week after his arrest, officers and SWAT units responded to a home located near Southwest 240th Street after Judge Timothy Maher allegedly took 3 people, including a teen, hostage. According to Miami-Dade police, a person inside the home texted someone for help, saying they were being held hostage in the home.
Well, maybe he just wanted his wife to make him some dinner. Who knows, right, guys? Just kidding.
We become very scared of it. I know you're a good father, Tim. Would you please be willing to let Sarah come out the front door? She's a 13-year-old girl. She doesn't need to go through all.
It was confirmed that shortly before 9:30 a.m., officers entered the home after hearing a gunshot. The 3 people who reportedly had been held hostage were able to get out safely before officers found Maher's body inside. He had died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, with the standoff lasting about 10 hours. And with that, we've come to the end of this video of evil judges getting brutal karma in the courtroom. Each of these cases serves as a cautionary tale for those in positions of power, letting them know that no one is above the law. If you enjoy
So that was pretty cool. I was able to show you a little bit at the beginning about the young thug judge and the ex-party communication. So I want to do a little follow-up on the young thug case. So it looks like they burned through like 2 other judges now in that case. And that lawyer is still doing like weekend jail. And even though that other judge got tossed. So this is going to be really interesting. Like, if I was that lawyer, I would sue the crap out of that judge. I don't think that his actions were shielded by judicial immunity. I think that it was so egregious what that judge did by jailing him for simply questioning the judge about violating his judicial canonical oath to not have an ex-parte communication with the prosecutor. It was absolutely insane to me that he got thrown in jail. What's even more insane is how the news media just holds water for all these politically appointed judges and prosecutors, right? Like, you know, CNN loves these Soros prosecutors who hate your rights. They try to say that the First Amendment is hate speech, right? Anything they can to silence you, right? You know, these are the same people that support fact check labels, you know, fact check labels where some far left Marxist will take an article that you wrote and say that it says something that it never said, and then accuse you of writing a false article and then using that false characterization to have you banned from social media or to shadow ban you and throttle your social media because you don't support their political candidates, basically. So it's the same kind of thing. So now we're going to get into another really fun one. This is kind of a hilarious one. I don't know if I've shared this one with any of you guys, but this is going to make you laugh. So when you see just how crazy some of these judges are. So keep in mind, guys, that black robe really makes you feel powerful. And one thing I got to tell you about my dad hated lawyers. And you know what he hated even more than lawyers? He despised judges. He did not like judges at all. He absolutely ridiculed them. He thought that they were the biggest pieces of garbage on the planet. Now, I don't feel that way. I think that there is a place for judges, but I think they have to be honest referees. And I think that they need to be volunteers. And I think that they should not serve their whole life on the bench. I think that any politician should have a regular job and volunteer their time as a public servant without pay or any kind of salary. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. I think that the administrative state is the enemy of freedom. I think the administrative state is the enemy of the Constitution and the constitutional republic. We have seen that with the creation of the Department of Education, a downward spiral of the minds of our children, ranking America what almost last in the world, even though we have we're just throwing money at the problem. But it's not the money. It's that we have a bunch of political ideologues running the schools instead of people trying to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. And that always happens when you politicize the government. So, and that's what's happened. Our whole government has been politicized at the administrative level. And the only way it can be changed is to destroy and break up these administrative agencies and return power to we, the people. And here's an example of what happens when you allow the administrative state to control our government.
Hey, you, get back here. That's a magistrate in full judicial robe storming out of his courtroom and chasing down a woman. The magistrate was presiding over a trial when he heard a commotion coming from the hallway. It was the woman, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs because she had just been told that she was 30 minutes late to file court papers. Watch as he takes off after her, running through the hallways. When he finally catches up with her, he orders her back to his courtroom. And when she makes a wrong turn, he puts the long arm of the law on her shoulder, steering her in the correct direction.
I've never seen a judge behave in this manner. It's as if he decided he's got to be the bailiff and the sheriff and the judge and the prosecutor all rolled into one to chase after somebody, drag them back into the courtroom.
Inside his courtroom in Cincinnati, the magistrate sits the woman down in the jury box and then proceeds to sentence her to 3 days in jail for disrespectful and disruptive behavior. But she's not having it. She tries to escape when deputies come to haul her off to jail. It takes a bunch of court officers to detain her. As she's led away, she continues to fuss and fight. The magistrate, Michael Bachman, was actually once a contestant on The Price is Right in 2016.
Michael Bachman, come on down.
Michael, where'd he been?
800, Drew.
He left empty-handed, and today he's out of a job, forced to resign for being out of order in his own courtroom.
The woman, whose name is Cassandra Jackson, was sentenced to 3 days in jail. A different judge let her out after 2 days.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up, guys. This is just like ridiculous. And this is just like the tip of the iceberg with these corrupt judges. So I just, I'm going to keep doing these. Give me a bunch of ones if you like my corrupt judge series. And by the way, if you're a journalist or you're a reporter or you're somebody who's had a problem with a corrupt judge, please reach out to me I would love to see the video. I'd love to help you do a public records request to get whatever you can. You know, this is what it's all about, guys. Government accountability operations are the key to making the world a better place. That's it. Because the opposite of government accountability operations are having some jackboot thug asking you questions like this.
Where are your papers, Mav? Where are they? Oh, you don't have any papers?
Right? I mean, that's it, right? That is your option. You start getting people on the bench and into office who really don't want to be there, or you're going to get a bunch of narcissist power tripper maniacs, which is what we're seeing more and more, like, prosecutors like Fannie Willis or this Alvin Bragg character, just political people, political animals. They let criminals go and they go after their political enemies. I mean, that's exactly what our founding fathers warned us about. And that's what democracy brings, because democracy means mob rules, whereas a republic means the rights of the individual rule. See, that's the big difference. And so we don't want a democracy, because democracy means like all these morons in California could decide what you do in Kentucky or Tennessee. And we don't want that. We want them to leave their Babylonian values there. Well, they can poop on the streets of San Francisco and stay away from your children, right? Stay away from your children. That's why we're a republic. That's why we're a constitutional republic. That's why almost to a man, all of our founding fathers had negative things to say about democracy. Look up the word demos. I believe it means mob in Greek. Now, let me try to get to some of the comments on the sidebar, because we got through the show a little quicker than I thought we would as far as the attorney breakdowns. So Let's OTVO. Words and cameras have never hurt anyone. Well, they've hurt a lot of criminals, a lot of bad cops. A lot of them have lost their jobs. But that's what happens, when you ask people questions like,
where are your papers, Mav? Where are they? Oh, you don't have any papers?
So when you ask people questions like that, the natural result is you're going to have a lot of enemies who don't like you, right? Now, Dawood, Dawood, I have not been in contact with Alan in a couple of days. And so Alan Beck, as you guys know, he works with my firm, and he is one of the preeminent Second Amendment rights lawyers in the world. And I guess he's helped out, or is going to help Dawood with a CCW issue, which it's a concealed carry weapon permit. That's all that means, CCW. To the concrete face plant with you. That was funny, Jeff. I love that. Stacy Parenti, so good having you back. Well, your effing papers, 999. Love that, man. Let me just see if I've got any other cool videos I could show you guys. Let me see what's going on with this one. I don't know. Did I show you guys? Did I show you guys this one? This is a pretty good one. Here, let's see if we got give me a bunch of ones if we already played this one.
Right now, a new ABC 15 investigation. They say justice is blind when it comes to seeing how Arizona investigates and disciplines judges. So is the public. We're exposing years of behavior by a judge and her staff, all hidden from you.
There's no way for the public to know this.
Correct. A whistleblower takes us inside a courtroom with cruel jokes, mocking memes, concerning conflicts, and some things that are just bizarre. All rise. It's the order we all receive when a judge enters the courtroom. It's to show respect and honor, and it's why we call this investigation dishonorable.
Because we're about to show you how people on the other side of the bench were treated in one judge's courtroom, and how the system failed to hold her accountable. That judge declined to sit down with ABC 15 Chief Investigator Dave Biskobing, but tonight Dave's got the evidence and a warning. It's very graphic and cruel.
Their emails. And by the way, guys, it is so rare to find good investigative journalism. And the reason why is because these big corporations like BlackRock, they basically are the ones who decide who gets on the bench. Like, for example, the most recent Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown. We know BlackRock is pushing the transformer thing with the kindergartners and the schools. And we know that they're pushing all the, rainbow stuff. And of course, she refused to give the definition of what a woman is. And then in another later episode, she compared the First Amendment to hamstringing the government. And we know that BlackRock and these large corporations, they don't want people to be able to have the right to say certain things. Like if you say something bad about the Transformers, that's hate speech. So you should go to jail for that. And that's basically brought over from Germany. They have the crime of insult. And so they're trying to copy the World Economic Forum model to silence your political enemies by deeming anything that they say or do that goes against your radical political agenda as being hate. And so we're seeing that happening all over the schools, safe spaces at the academic institutions. It's basically the European World Economic Forum system being thrust upon ever since our last election at high speed. And so these corporations are the ones that elect these judges and make sure they get into power. And you can see the way they rule. It basically mirrors these multi-billion-dollar corporations' political aims. Let's keep watching.
Memes and jokes, some racial, homophobic, and obscene, some so cruel, it's hard to believe they were sent between a judge and her staff.
17.
It all happened inside the Maricopa County Superior Courtroom of Judge Aaron O'Brien Otis. This, of course, is Judge Otis. This is her bailiff, Barbara Chavez, and clerk, Kelly Schaefer.
You worked for the clerk's office for how long?
That's fine.
A little
Stacey.
over 11 years.
I'll
How
reach
much
out
of that
to
was
you.
in Aaron Otis's courtroom?
Almost my last 2 years.
Schaefer was an experienced clerk. She worked the Jodi Arias murder trial, and she was transferred to...
And by the way, Greg B, yes. So Greg B is talking about what's going on in Ireland right now. So we know that the globalists, they're flooding Europe with basically what amounts to like peasants and criminals from third world countries who come from like these archaic, religious, almost like cult-like cultures. And they're coming up to Europe and they're just having their way with the European women, beating them with chains, kidnapping them, burning down cities, burning all the churches down. And the Irish, I could never understand this. Remember the IRA, Chucky, 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 Allah, our day will come. Remember they wanted freedom from the Queen? And instead, they flooded their country with people from like jihadis, basically. And they're burning down cities, burning down churches, going after the women. Like in Norway, you can't even talk about it. It's considered hate speech to talk about the fact that there's a 40% increase in sexual assaults on women since the World Economic Forum and all their buddies started flooding Europe, starting with Angela Merkel, with all of these people from third world countries that have nothing in common with the natives who live in Europe. And so you're just seeing it like almost like a civil war going on right now in Ireland. But we're getting a little off point, but I wanted to point that out because that was a really, really intelligent thing that he pointed out. And it does sound like New York City, Stacey Parenti. But now let's get back into the video and you'll kind of understand. So they're all part of the same club. So let's see if anything even happens to this judge that's eventful.
To Otis's courtroom because the judge would be taking on death penalty cases for the first time.
Had a pretty smooth career until you hit her courtroom.
Till I met Aaron Otis.
Before we get deeper into why Schaefer is sitting here, first we start with what happened in that courtroom.
You remember seeing these. I mean, how often did stuff like this get sent?
Almost daily.
Really?
Yes.
Like you're in a hearing and just these would pop up.
Yes.
We obtained messages from late 2017 through 2018, then pulled courtroom video to see what was going on as they were sent.
So there's one, and I'm just going to get it out of the way because it's maybe the worst. It's got no subject line, so you have no idea what you're about to open.
Yes.
I even got it highlighted here with a Post-it.
It came during a jury selection in September 2017.
Are there any jurors who have any physical conditions or illnesses that would make it difficult to sit through a trial of this length?
We're changing.
Yeah, I'm allergic to corrupt judges, Your Honor.
The voice of the woman you're about to hear.
My condition is embarrassing. I don't really want to. Okay, you want to talk in private? Okay.
In the cleared out courtroom, the juror says she has a medical condition that gives her uncontrollable periods.
I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. I don't want to put you in a situation where you're going to feel uncomfortable or anything like that.
Otis's bailiff emails this photo almost immediately after the juror leaves. We blurred the word at the bottom. It's the F word.
What do you think the public would think if they knew this was happening
in cases as big as they're handling.
I would hope they would be disgusted by it.
By big cases,
Then you must impose the death penalty.
we mean murders and death penalty trials, like the State v. John Allen. He's one of multiple family members convicted of first-degree murder after they put 10-year-old Amy Deal in a footlocker.
He had the only key.
And at this moment in trial, the bailiff emails a pair of photos to Otis, comparing the defendant and his family to characters in movies. First, cannibals from The Hills Have Eyes, then Chucky.
I mean, you guys, this is just unbelievable. This is like a felony murder court. And, this judge's bailiff is just making fun of the jurors and just yucking it up, right? And these are the same kind of dudes that are like running the prisons. Imagine how they treat the people who are actually in the prisons. Imagine that. I mean, they're just animals the way they treat these people. These are people that, in my opinion, shouldn't even be part of our society. And they have them in charge of your son or your daughter or someone in your family who may have broken a law or been falsely arrested and falsely convicted, like Chili DeCastro was just a couple weeks ago, just got out.
ABC 15 obtained many examples in many cases.
Sexist, racist,
Yes,
just blatantly insensitive.
absolutely. You name it.
To be clear, Bailiff Barbara Chavez initiated many of the mocking emails. But here's one first sent by Judge Otis about a defense attorney. Subject line, pants. Quote, not for trial or even ever. Otis again emails her bailiff a minute later. You can see all the cellulite on her butt. The bailiff then sends this picture you've been looking at, but we added the black box because the original image is just too graphic for TV news. We're not going to show video of the defense attorney, but this is Otis's expression moments after the photo is emailed. Jurors, defendants, their families, attorneys, even presiding judges, all targets.
Nobody was off limits. And Aaron Otis would even say, because at one point they took these memes, they printed them out, they laminated them, and they hung them on the wall in the division. So when you walked into the judge's division, there was a whole wall.
Well, they made like a collage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was a.
I mean, guys, really? I mean, these are your public servants. And it's like being in a high school. And so that's another reason, why I keep talking about parallel systems. Like when I grew up, you hear me, a lot of you guys already know this. I was taught, if there's a lady around, you open the door for her. You say, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. If there's an old lady trying to get across the street and there's a puddle of water, you throw down your coat so she can walk across. And you help her across till she makes it across, right? If you're walking down the street, you always make sure you're the one closest to traffic and your woman and the kids are furthest away from traffic. That's how guys were taught in my generation, to be humble and respectful, especially to people who are physically weaker than us or older than us, because we were given that gift of physical strength and physical prowess. It wasn't something to be used as a weapon or to brag about. It's a burden that you have to carry because as a man, you're burdened with being a protector. You're burdened with being a sheepdog. And because that's how God made you. You're born with those certain, bigger bone structure, more testosterone, it's called science, something that they forgot about, I guess, right after the last presidential election. But I appreciate that, Jack Boot. And the reason why my viewers are going up is because there's really no lawyers out there who don't toe the party line. Most of the attorneys you're going to meet are very much part of the administrative state, and they have been brainwashed in the academic institutions. And I am a natural law theorist. I am a legal historian. Most lawyers are not legal historians. They do not teach legal history in law school. They teach you constitutional law, which is some excerpts from some Supreme Court cases. I'm a legal historian, so I start at the Temple Inn outside of London when the Knights Templars started what would ultimately be our first Inns of Court, which evolved in time into law schools. And so I go all the way back, and that's where I get my start. And in my book about how I became a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad, which I'm selling, by the way, there's a link to my PayPal on the home page of my YouTube channel. I cover that. And I'm writing another book right now about the racist beginnings of the American Bar Association, how law schools were basically established in large part to prevent Black people from becoming lawyers, believe it or not. And I'll go into that in my book. It's just really crazy, though. the black people actually started their own bar association because of that. So most of the ABA, from my research so far, I don't think there's ever been a Republican head of the ABA, and most of them were Ku Klux Klan heads or Grand Wizards, from what I've read so far. So really, really interesting when you really start studying history and getting a handle on what's going on. Let's go ahead and hear what this woman has to say about this corrupt judge.
Collage on the wall. And then finally the court reporter went out and bought a little photo album book. And we were like, please take them off the wall and put them in your hate book. So they did. They had a hate book.
Hate book?
A hate book.
Is that what they called it?
That's what I called it.
Okay. But I mean,
what else can you call it?
I don't know. In a lengthy statement, Otis absolutely refuted the claims about an album of memes and emails. And as for Schaefer, why didn't she just ask for a transfer?
They said if I wanted to leave, they were going to tell her it was at my request. I was afraid of her. I had a great career there.
In early 2019, after almost 2 years, Schaefer finally spilled everything to her bosses in writing. It forced the clerk's office to file a complaint with the Arizona Commission on Judicial Conduct, which oversees and investigates judges. The complaint included info about the same memes and emails, plus other allegations, manipulating judicial performance reviews, inappropriate conversations and interactions with defendants, like clearing a courtroom to throw a birthday party for the son of a 6-time convicted felon before sentencing him. The party had cupcakes and bubbles, and we dug up video to prove it. Is there any point where you look back on it and you just go, oh my God, like I can't believe like I sat in there through all of this.
Every day. And I'm ashamed of myself for not coming forward sooner. I live with that every day.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to get into with you guys. So, I've had a retired cop on my show who was a whistleblower, and, he's been ostracized by law enforcement as well as by my audience, because you guys hate cops. And so you can see the problem, right? It's like the people who do come out and as whistleblowers, they're still ostracized. You're never going to really accept a police officer, even if he's a whistleblower, because you just don't like cops, a lot of you guys. But I'm more forgiving. I believe that these people are trying to support their families. Like this woman here, she got into this job. I guess she worked in the court system, and she's trying to support her family. She's got probably a retirement coming up. She doesn't want to make any waves, and she knows the judges are corrupt. She knows that the courtrooms are corrupt, but she could lose everything, right? This is Arizona. So we know the drug cartels are heavily involved in the elections in Arizona. We know that there's been a lot of allegations that the governor of Arizona is heavily involved in receiving kickbacks from the drug cartels. She didn't even participate in a debate in the last election because she knew she was going to win. Give me a bunch of ones if you know that. And now there's allegations that her and her party are receiving gold and silver, and houses and titles are being transferred into their family members' names from the drug cartels. Wide open border right there in Arizona. Tons of fentanyl. Those cartels are making about $5,000, $6,000 per person that they bring across. And Arizona's just letting them right across, paying off the border patrol agents and the cops. It's all just a total scam, a lot of people are saying. I don't have evidence of this other than the circumstantial evidence that why wouldn't you even participate in a debate unless you knew that the voting machines and that everything was rigged in your favor? Think about that. Give me a bunch of ones if you're a critical thinker and you're a little bit concerned about what happened just recently in Arizona. Now let's watch this video and see how corrupt their courts are.
You feel guilt for this.
Mm-hmm. I always tell my kids, if you watch somebody bullied and you do nothing, you're as bad as the bully.
Now, ethics experts told us the evidence we just showed you is unlike anything they've seen. One called it astonishing and horrific for a judge in life and death cases. Another called it childish high school behavior that undermines the public trust. Now, we're outside where the Commission on Judicial Conduct meets, and you might assume that they disciplined Otis. No. After 2 years, they dismissed the complaint. Why? We don't know exactly. Their records are not public. They don't have public meetings, and they declined to provide us with any more information. In this order, the only public document outlining their decision, it says, the commission found no clear and convincing evidence that the judge had initiated any memes. The commission considered the judge's remorse, and they warned her about appropriately supervising her judicial staff, including an employee's use of electronic.
Hey, I bet you she knows where all the bodies are buried, guys. And that's what it's really all about. Start thinking, guys. Be critical thinkers. Don't trust any of these public servants because they are not your servant. They are part of the same club. They're part of a uniparty system, and they're making tons of money. When people like AOC or Pelosi can go into office with a few grand in the bank and get out a few years later with millions, you know there's something wrong with this country. It's a problem. Now, can you believe this? Nothing. They're saying, oh, there's no proof that she had anything to do with the meme. She was sitting there laughing at it. She's in charge of the courtroom. Give me a freaking break. Let's watch some more of this. This is crazy to me. Give me a bunch of ones if you're disgusted with the Arizona judiciary and the Judicial Performance Commission for this nonsense ruling of theirs.
Communications. I mean, that's almost passive. It's like she didn't participate, but she did.
100% she did. There were so many times that she would even say to her bailiff, that needs a meme. That deserves a meme.
The commission's order does not address the other allegations.
Ridiculous.
And because they dismissed the case, they removed Judge Otis's name from the final public findings. Have you read through this?
I have.
What do you think about this?
No one would have any idea who it was or what this is.
They removed the judge's name from the public finding. Are you guys getting this so far? Really? They removed the judge they were investigating, her name from the public finding. Who are these people? It's ridiculous.
Is or what it pertains to.
Or what even happened?
No.
Barbara Chavez still works for the court.
Stupid.
As for Otis, she joined the bench in 2012, but resigned in 2020. She left in the middle of the judicial investigation to work at the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Emails show County Attorney Alistair Adele was involved in recruiting Otis. She's now a high-level prosecutor in the Capital Case Division, the unit that handles murder and death penalty cases.
Hey, didn't we talk about this with cops, how they'll recirculate you to another area? And in this case, she gets a job as a lead prosecutor. And since her name has been deleted, right, the only way anyone's going to know about this judge is you guys, you and me. Let's make this judge famous, guys. Everybody go do a post with this judge's name. I don't remember her name. I don't want to, but go back, watch this part of the video. Make sure to post her name on your post section on your YouTube channel. If you have a blog, make sure to talk about her. Make sure the whole world knows about her. If you got a Reddit channel, make sure the whole world knows about her. And the same goes with these recycled cops. This is crazy. This woman is a piece of garbage with respect to her oath as a judge and as a lawyer, as far as many, many lawyers and regular people like you are concerned. And the only way to hold her accountable now is by petitioning, by basically airing the fact that this happened and just showing people the video. I mean, she's laughing at people, making fun of people based on their race, their gender, their body weight. She's got her bailiff over there egging people on, helping her out. And ultimately, nothing happens to her. Her name gets removed. She sort of wink, wink, nod, nod, gets recycled over to a prosecutor's office. And now she's involved in locking people up. But what a great judge for a corrupt piece of shit judge, right? To now have keys to the jail. Amazing. Oh my gosh. Like, where do these people come from? Really? Are you kidding me? They let this person actually prosecute people after that? I mean, ridiculous. And she gets to brag on her employment application that she was a judge. So she's going to get like twice as much money as a regular lawyer. And she might even get a gig with like CNN in a couple of months if she can keep her nose clean, like Peter Strzok and Lisa Page did when they got those illegal FISA warrants against Carter Page by lying and falsely claiming that Trump was a Russian agent, which we now know was a lie and has been disproven. But let's just keep watching this so you can see the rest. This is crazy.
That's the other thing. She now is on a capital caseload. So she is prosecuting people to put them to death. And I really feel that those prosecutors need to be held to the highest standard. And she's the most unethical person I've ever known.
Do you think she's been held accountable?
No.
Right, and Dave, Erin Otis declined to sit down with you for an interview, but what else did she say in that long statement?
Well, she began by saying she always tries to act with integrity. And then she added that this was just a very brief and limited example of her time as a judge. But remember, we showed those emails were sent over at least a 1.5 year period. And now here's a key part of her statement. In retrospect, the situation related to the emails and or memes over email should have been discouraged and stopped. I admit that I did not handle that in the best way and have taken full responsibility for it. I have also taken full responsibility for anything I said over email that lacked professional boundaries. Otis also emphasized multiple times the Judicial Commission dismissed the complaint against her.
So what's next?
Her friends on the Judicial Commission dismissed the complaint.
Next in the investigation?
Well, Steve, there's a lot more we still need to show and to know in all of this. We're going to dig deeper into the lack of transparency with these judicial investigations. We're going to look at how and when the county attorney's office hired Otis. And on Monday, we're going to air a report about that birthday party and allegations of other inappropriate contact with defendants.
Thanks so much, Dave. You can see that full report. And
All right. And I want to thank these guys. It's so rare to get a decent investigative journalist nowadays. So, guys, give me a bunch of ones for these investigative journalists at ABC 15 in Arizona. And if you want, here, in fact, I'm going to throw this link in the sidebar. This is what I'm all about, guys. I am really big on giving people recognition. The only way people are gonna know that they're appreciated is if you give them recognition. So these guys, I just sent the link in the sidebar. Let's OTVO, everybody, please share this. Reach out to this journalist or the editor and tell them thank you for exposing corruption. Do it some more, and offer to subscribe and tune into their channel. Let them know that you appreciate what they're doing. Just like Roger Lane just did. Roger Lane just gifted 5 Michael Eline injury attorney memberships. Thank you, Roger. I haven't been getting a whole lot of super chats or donations. No one's buying my book, man, but I'm still out here hustling, trying to help you guys. And I'm helping myself too. I'm not going to lie, guys. This is kind of therapeutic for me. A lot of you guys know I just recently lost my father from Agent Orange cancer, and it just really wiped me out emotionally. And so doing this and showing, I'm doing this with my kids, teaching them how to make videos and editing and stuff like that. So it kind of helps get me anchored with the family again and stuff. So it's been a real blessing to be able to be here with you guys. But yeah, man, the time that I spend here definitely it's not making me any money. I'll tell you that. So any kind of recognition is cool. And when I say recognition, hit that like and subscribe button. And make sure to press the save thing too on all my videos. Like, look at all of them. Look at the old ones and look at the progression. Like the very first ones that I did. Press the save thing. Share them with your friends. And by the way, guys, I do really long lives. So if you're a trucker or, if you commute a lot, man, just listen to it. There's not a whole lot of pictures in my videos. Just you could listen to them. And then as you're listening, come up with questions and other ideas for my next show. Like this was a big one. This was one, the Judges Gone Wild. This was recommended to me by one of my viewers a couple months ago. And I started doing this series and people keep emailing me all the time. Hey, please do some more about the judges. So I think I found pretty much all the corrupt judge ones that I'm going to be able to find. So if you guys find any more updates like about Young Thug, or if you have footage that we haven't seen that hasn't been released, because we know that, the for-profit media doesn't cover everything, right? So if you can get your hands on some footage for me, send it over. I'd love to do a lawyer reaction video on it. But now I want to go and thank everybody in the sidebar and just to see if there's anybody who's got any questions for me. But before that, I just want to make sure if you guys are on this show and one of my mods, comes up and asks you a question or something like, well, hold on. I got to fix this really quick, guys. So if you're on the show, you're screwing around, one of my mods walks up to you. They say that they're a mod, right? They say they're a mod, and they walk up to you and they ask,
"Where are your papers, Mav? Where are they?" Oh, you don't have any papers?
So if one of my mods asks you that question, it's not one of my mods, because my mods are God-fearing constitutionalists, and we don't ask for papers. Nein, we will never ask you for papers. Aber if you cause problemen on the sidebar, my mods will boot you out. So the rule that we have is no ad hominem attacks. We're not going to insult people. You got to remember that I would say probably half my audience supports the Democrats. The other half probably supports Trump. The other 10% of them probably support the rhinos. And I'm like in that 1 or 2%. I'm a libertarian. I don't really support any kind of political party. I guess I characterize myself as being a libertarian because I just believe in liberty and freedom. And I believe that if you become part of a Leviathan or any kind of organized political party or organized religion for that matter, that lends itself to corruption. I believe the more chaos and the less laws that we have in government as far as politics goes, and the more the government is bound by the chains of the Constitution. We already have natural law. We have the right to speech, the right to be left alone, the right not to speak, the right to defend. It's already there. We don't need to pass more laws. We just need to teach civics, teach ethics, teach our young love of country, love of their neighbors, and 99% of the world's problems will be solved. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. 99% of the world's problem will be solved if we teach civility and honor and integrity and love of country and love of your neighbors. Basically, just follow the 10 Commandments and we'll be good. That's really all we have to do, right, guys? Just follow the 10 Commandments. It's not easy sometimes. We get mad. There's a lot of trolls. A lot of people want to cause trouble. But if we develop parallel systems like Brett Pike talks about, my friend who does the Cubs to Bears books homeschooling program, we can live very well amongst ourselves in an honorable and honest society, because justice mainly comes from honor. If you're an honest person, you always strive to tell the truth and be upright and not lie to people, you'll find that you'll live longer and your health will be longer too. It's an amazing thing, the spirituality in this world that we've ignored for so long in furtherance of narcissism and self-gain. And so you'll find that the more you give, the more you get, the more you love, the more you'll be loved. So everybody, I really appreciate everybody tuning into my show today. And I hope that none of my mods have been disrespectful to you or ever asked you this.
Where are your papers, Mav? Where are they? Oh, you don't have any papers?
And if you love your children, you will flee California. You will not stay. And I'm saying that as a lawyer who has represented several parents who have had run-ins with the public school system trying to take their kids away because the public school teachers, they're accusing the public school teachers of trying to transition their kids. And the governor just passed a law called the Safety Act that makes it legal for the teachers to keep doing that. And so the only way around it now is to pull your kids out of the school or homeschool them, or simply leave the state because you don't want to pay taxes into a Babylonian, Luciferian, false religion that takes away the power of parents and gives it over to somebody who was just recently at a safe space at some UCLA campus who now has a teaching credential, deciding the future of your children that you made with the woman that you love, or vice versa. And now you've got one of these administrators trying to tell you that they're going to take your kids away if you don't go along with their false religion. So think about that. And again, if they ask you questions like this,
where are your papers, Mav? Where are they? Oh, you don't have any papers?
So if that happens, at least you know that you're in California, right? So anyways, guys, I do appreciate everybody showing up. Thanks, Michael Dolan, for coming. What's the matter you? That's a good question. I don't know the answer. I'm looking at all your questions. Why are you falsely demonizing innocent people? You are evil. Oh, you're evil. James Forbes, I didn't know you jumped. So everybody in the sidebar, who has your jump wings? Was it, were you Army Airborne or are they private wings? I didn't know you jumped, dude. That's pretty cool. I was always impressed by people who had their jump wings. I never got mine. I didn't stay in long enough. And of course, in the Marine Corps, you had to go to Army jump. So it's really, really hard to get that billet. They usually give it to the Force Reconnaissance or the Anglico guys first. So just a straight infantryman, and especially an admin dude, they're never going to get it. Yeah, thanks. I saw something on the internet. That's right. Sometimes you find people who are brave. But yes, stay safe, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and bone out. It's been about an hour and 20 minutes, getting a little bit tired. Look, I appreciate everybody showing up. I want you to make sure to like and subscribe, make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And, I want you guys to start thinking about developing parallel systems like Stacy Parenti, James Forbes, Left Nut, and Selwyndian, and all you guys, develop parallel systems where you do business with each other. So you don't have to buy things from a BlackRock corporation, who tries to brainwash your school kids and destroy your families and stuff, like do business with people you like and trust. Don't let some multi-billionaire weirdo shape the life of your family, right? That's your job. That's what you do. So make sure to keep that in mind and eat well and enjoy life. I agree with that. Let's OTVO. Kurt Bronson, thanks. Roger Lane, good seeing you. Even though nobody's perfect, I appreciate that comment. And then of course, what's the matter? You says the Old Testament, God is bloodthirsty, maybe, but I still believe the values in the Old Testament are really, really valuable. And I don't believe in religioning yourself, like religion, re-allegiance. I just believe that you just need to be spiritual and be a good person. And I think that that's the way to go. And there are just basic truths in life. And the administrative state traditionally has always gone down the evil path. And we saw that today with judges gone wild. And it happens every day. We see these tight handcuff cases where hands get amputated. There's permanent nerve damage. And you have these narcissist whack jobs like this bailiff who's sending out memes, making fun of victims, making fun of jurors, making fun of a woman's period, and the judge laughing about it. I mean, you're seeing it with your own eyes, guys. The for-profit media doesn't talk about this stuff that is hardly at all. So if you want to learn the truth, come and join me. I'll try to be on the show more. If I was doing better, I would be on the show more. Like if I was independently wealthy, I would be here all the time. So send me a big accident case. I do car accidents and truck accidents and elder abuse and stuff like that. And motorcycle accidents are how we survive. And that will definitely enable me to spend more time here on YouTube, which is where I'd rather be, to be honest. But wouldn't anybody, right? As opposed to having a regular job. So again, I appreciate Mama Lion, all you guys, even some of the people that don't have good intentions. I do appreciate y'all coming. Yeah. And remember, guys, if people are asking you questions like this in California,
where are your papers, Mav? Where are they? Oh, you don't have any papers?
They're asking you questions like that. It's probably time for you to leave California. Now, also, by the way, guys, before I go, keep in mind, I don't know if you saw my state ref videos, but check those out. Just another crazy thing that's going on in California where you've got these jackboot thugs, man, trying to pull people over who are coming in from like Arizona or Colorado and giving them state referee tickets, forcing them to demodify their cars that are legal in the states they came from while they're just simply passing through California. And just how draconian, how terrible it's become for California. I mean, I feel so bad for like the people who couldn't afford to leave, that you're under Newsom and all these Marxist nonsensical laws. Like it's like a new law every freaking 5 seconds over there. Taxes just keep going up, and all the successful people and the old school people like me who are like trustworthy, you could count on to not break into your house, who you could count on to like keep an eye on things when you're out of town. We're all leaving. We're all gone. We're not going to stay in that environment. We'll vote with our feet. So, I feel bad for you guys, but if you're experiencing that, everybody in the sidebar, give them a bunch of ones that you support them, and give them a choice of your state. Maybe you can tell them where the best place to live is for patriotic people who don't want to be told what to do with their children by a public school teacher. How's that sound? How about you focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic and let parents raise their kids, or you'll be out of a job, because guess what? We're all going to pull our kids out of your school. We're done. We're done with you guys. Now, yeah, you smoked your papers. 9. Anyways, it was really great talking to you guys. Check out those state ref videos. I think they're really cool, and it gives you an idea of just how backwards things have become in California. And for the people who have stayed there, I feel for you, because with voting machines and a single party system and dead people voting all the time, I just don't think you have a chance. I think that state has basically become like Canada. I think it's done. And it's a sad, sad thing. hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to save, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to always support Delete Laws and Chili, and make sure to support my buddy BZ Watchdog. And by the way, guys, BZ Watchdog is doing a lot right now for these public records requests. I'm asking that you all try to dig deep and help him, because he doesn't make any money. He's spending money on public records requests from his own pocket that he doesn't have, and to get these things. And so anybody who is a philanthropist, if there was one channel that I would advise you to support, it would be his, the BZ Watchdog channel. I really do see him doing things that will actually make positive change, not just get a bunch of likes. You know what I'm saying? So support BZ Watchdog. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bone out, guys. Yeah. Good seeing you, Michael Dolan, Jeff, Paul. What's up, out of you, Stacy Parenti. And Stacy Parenti, reach out to BZ. I thought that I talked to your boy the other day. Have him call me if he remembers my number. I just get about 1 million calls a day, and I don't always save the name to my phone. So I'm digging through there trying to find it, and I'm just feeling stupid right now. So just keep in mind, I'm doing my best, guys. And again, if you do have a civil rights case, I may not be able to help you in your state. It may not be the type of civil rights case that I do take, but I'll try and help you find someone. Okay. So either way, I'll do my best, but keep in mind, I'm extremely busy. I was not able to come on last night because I was just swamped. I was working on files, and I shouldn't even be on right now, but I've got like 30 emails from people saying, are you coming on? Are you coming on? So I said, okay, I'll come on. And I hope you really like the Judges Gone Wild. And I'll do another one if you can find me some cool Judges Gone Wild type videos you want me to do lawyer reactions to. All right. So with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And always save. Press the save thing. And then I'm going to be out of here. Semper Fi, do or die.